Hello guys and welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today we've got a very special one for you. The first non-Real Madrid guest on the Los Blancos podcast. We've got Anthony from LFCTransferRoom joining us, and yeah, we're going to be previewing the Liverpool Real Madrid game. Obviously a huge one, for Real Madrid to win that game. And we've got to win it. We've just got to win it. We're 18th right now. We need the points desperately. But obviously Liverpool are playing fantastically, and obviously we're here to talk about Liverpool. So yeah, Anthony's going to be here helping us. If you want to go find Anthony, you can go find him on LFCTransferRoom. They've got YouTube, they've got Twitter. So go drop them a follow. They're fantastic. One of the best Liverpool news pages. If you want to find out more about Liverpool, I'm certainly very interested in how Liverpool are playing, because they're playing fantastic football, and they're very entertaining to watch right now. Or if you want to find out about Trent, as a Madrista, you want to find out about the contract issues that Liverpool currently have. Maybe this is the way, but yeah, that is where you can find him. Let's get right into today's podcast. Okay, so like I said in the intro, I am joined by Anthony from LFCTransferRoom for his debut on the XLYT YouTube channel. How are you, Anthony, on this day?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to the Liverpool Real Madrid match. I don't say that often because you've gotten the better of us every single time since I've been born, in fact, actually, aside from 2007-8 season, I think. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Got some, thankfully the international break's over, but yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm excited as well. But I'm also a bit scared, going into this match, because Liverpool are in excellent form. They're playing excellent football, like really entertaining football. I really enjoy watching Liverpool right now. And Real Madrid right now, it's more of a drag watching Real Madrid right now, to be honest. So, it does look like, even though we've had the better of Liverpool over these last few years, it could be, this could be Liverpool's chance to get their revenge, as Mo Salah would have liked to say, over the last few years. So, yeah, it's definitely a big game going into it. I mean, what does it mean for Liverpool? So, because, they're first in the Premier League, first in the Champions League league table now as well. What does it mean for Liverpool, this game?
I think this is probably the biggest fixture we've had. I know we've played against Arsenal in the league and away from home, in fact, and we still managed to get a point. But in terms of the whole season, people have been saying, "Oh, we've not played anyone big." It's a lot of rubbish, because even the kind of medium, smaller matches in the Premier League always look like Brighton, playing Brighton, teams like that. You still have to get over the line, because if you don't, then those drop points you pay for them at the end of the season, and we've experienced that. Obviously, when you're up against City, who can easily get 90, 99 points, 100 points, and they cost you. So this is the biggest one, because obviously we've not gotten the better of you. 17-18 final, you beat us. 2021 season, knocked us out Champions League. Season after, you beat us in the final. Season after that, you knocked us out. You battered us and battered us at Anfield as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we really need to make a statement this season, and hopefully we can beat you. I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say 100% we're going to beat you, just because you're maybe not in the best of form, and obviously we're performing really well. But yeah, it'll be a huge statement, and hopefully we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting game, but I think the first thing I want to talk to you about is obviously the main thing coming into this season is the fact that you lose the guy who was the pillar of Liverpool for the last however many years, with Klopp, and you bring in a new guy, Arne Slot, who a lot of people maybe not have heard about, coming into the season. He'd done brilliant work at Feyenoord, but it definitely was a risk. You had other managers like Ruben Amorim, who's obviously now going to Man United, as well as guys like Xabi Alonso, who was on the shortlist. But you chose Arne Slot, and it looks like an inspired decision, because so far this season it looks like Slot has maybe made Liverpool an even better team than they were under Klopp in these last few years. So what has that transition been like? And how is Arne Slot, how does it differ from Klopp's system?
Well, what you said, spot on. I think we have looked a better side. Maybe not obviously the year we won the Champions League and Prem, but it's hard to compare after 11 league matches. But already I think we're seeing styles of play that we weren't maybe seeing under Klopp. I'm not going to pretend that I'm too much into my tactics, but you see already there's different patterns of play. Defensively, I'm sure we'll touch on later in the podcast, but we're much more defensively secure. Even one big thing I've already noticed is the timing of substitutions. So Klopp would normally wait till maybe 70th minute mark, 80th minute mark even, to make substitutions. I think everyone remembers when Salah and Klopp had a sort of mini dispute towards the end of last season, and Salah came on with like 10 minutes to go when he arguably should have came on maybe half an hour, 40 minutes earlier. Whereas already in Slot's first ever match for Liverpool, Kwanzaa weren't playing too well, took him off, brought Konate on, and Konate changed the game. We were dominating Ipswich from the 40th minute mark, or as soon as the second half started, and we obviously won. But another thing, substitutions just in general, they're much more effective. I think Klopp, whenever you think of Klopp's substitutions, you think Origi, these players who are going to sort of change the game completely, whereas Slot's been a bit more sort of, what's the word, like, there's more thought process behind it. So he's bringing on Endo, for example, bringing on someone like Gomez, Conor Bradley, Tsimikas in fact as well. Whereas Tsimikas, I wouldn't associate him with being a key player under Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, he won us the FA Cup final, that winning penalty, but generally, just these players, you wouldn't associate them with being key players under Klopp. So only Bradley just come up last season, but they're being much more effective defensively. We don't look like we're going to concede a goal. You look at the goals we have conceded, they've been like Callum Hudson-Odoi when he scored against us for Nottingham Forest is out of this world. But so we're conceding the odd goal, which kind of is either unstoppable or really sloppy defensively due to like an individual error. Arsenal, obviously, Saka scored a brilliant goal against us, but again, it is down to Robertson messing up as opposed to Liverpool actually look poor defensively here, so we're going to have a go at them. So I'd say the biggest thing for me is substitutions. Starts getting them pretty much 100% spot on. You can obviously see that we're top of the Prem, top of the Champions League as well. And then I think we're much more effective in transition. So last season, I think that we were wasting far too many chances certainly in big matches as well. Salah against Manchester City, for example, Salah set Diaz through on goal. He's 1-on-1 and he's completely missed the target. Jones against Crystal Palace, I believe, is at Anfield. This match would have sent us top of the Premier League. He's completely missed the target as well. Whereas this season, you look at players like Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo as well, even Nunes to an extent. I know Nunes hasn't scored many goals, but he's not really been given the game time just because we've got so many forward options. But I think they're just much more clinical. You can see it with Diaz's stats especially, which, again, I'm sure we'll touch on later in the podcast. I don't want to speak too much now.
Yeah, I think 100% what you said was right. I think the transition from Klopp, I think Klopp with his high voltage football, he just constantly going at the other team. It obviously had its huge highs, with the fact that you won the Premier League and Champions League those years where you were just so ridiculously good at just pressing non-stop. But with this Arne Slot team, which is a bit more passive, maybe a little bit more cautious with how they play, I think it's definitely given the Liverpool a base in which they're a bit harder to beat. Where Real Madrid, you could see a couple of years ago, someone like Toni Kroos absolutely loved playing against Liverpool because of the fact that he could just pop one ball over the top to Vinny and then it's a 1v1. Those are the types of things where you could see happening to Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, which you just can't see happening to Arne Slot, and that's one of the things which I'm quite worried about going into this game, which is something that Real Madrid have exploited over the last few years with Liverpool, is the fact that it just does not exist anymore. The defence, and we might as well touch on the defence now, they look so much more secure defensively. I think they've only conceded more than one goal so far this season twice, which is once in the FA Cup against Brighton, and then one in the game against Arsenal, which you've touched on before. So you can see that Liverpool just don't concede many goals, and if they do concede one, it ain't gonna happen again. They will make sure that you will not score one after that, and a lot of that praise has to go to Van Dijk, a lot of that praise has to go to Konate. But it's the whole defensive structure is just a lot more compact, a lot more solid, and you just can't beat them more than once. They will patch things up, and a lot of praise has to go to Arne Slot because of that. So, yeah, I mean, what has changed about that defense from Klopp to Slot?
Spot on again. So I think this is arguably, so I think maybe even 18-19 season you can have a strong argument towards, but I think this is the most defensively secure. Like a lot of us have probably seen Liverpool, and during the 18-19 season, we only lost once in the Premier League all season, so it really says something. And I think the biggest thing is maybe players are stepping up, because towards last season, I think maybe Van Dijk wasn't fully at it. I think he was still one of the best defenders in the world, and Kanate, he definitely wasn't really at it towards the end of last season. We had to rely on Kwanzaa in quite a few matches, but this season it seems like the holding players are definitely helping out, because we'd play. I know they play similar formations, 4-3-3 with Klopp would turn into a 4-2-3-1, where Henderson would maybe join the attack and then Wijnaldum would drop. And last season it would be McAllister joining the attack, and who else do we have there? Szoboszlai would maybe drop at times, and then Szoboszlai would attack, then McAllister would drop. Whereas this season it seems like we just got two holding players and they're going to stay there. Gravenberch, who's been unreal, and I know the stats maybe won't back it up in terms of offensively, but defensively he's been one of the best midfielders in the world, if not the best. For me, just one of the best. And McAllister again, I don't think he's maybe suited to this Liverpool team. Well, to this specific formation we're currently playing. I think he's better in the offensive positions. Maybe Curtis Jones in the holding role it will be better. But again, I just think midfielders helping out their defence a lot more, helping us, because last season we had to rely on Endo, and not that Endo was a bad player, but I think he's just a solid player. He'll give you a 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 performance, and that's it. Whereas Gravenberch is there. He's stopping the threats from happening before they've actually happened. So there's less work for our defence to do. But again, Van Dijk has stepped up. Kanate has been unreal. I think he's probably been the best centre-back in the Premier League this season, if not the second best behind Van Dijk. And the stats kind of speak for themselves. We conceded 6 goals in our opening 11 matches. And if you compare that to our past 5 seasons, in 23-24, so last season we conceded 10 goals in our opening 11, 12 goals the season before that, 11 goals the season before that, 17 the season before that, and then the year we won the Premier League, conceded 9 goals in our first 11 matches. So we're in exceptional form defensively, and obviously going forward as well. So I think, the main defensive thing is under Slot. We just got 2 holding players there, whereas under Klopp it would be, obviously like I said, it would be maybe what Wijnaldum would change, and then it would be Henderson there. And maybe the fullbacks as well. I think with Trent, we're seeing him a lot more solid defensively. I know he gets picked on, but we definitely need to touch on this, right? He always gets picked on, he can't defend, it's just a myth. But this season, again, he's stepped up, man, and defensively looks a lot more secure. And we have actual backups there, so Tsimikas, he's came in and he stepped up. Joe Gomez, whenever he's needed to come in, he stepped up as well. And same with Conor Bradley. So, I think it's a mixture of, he's came in and implemented this 2 holding midfield players, but at the same time, I think a lot of the defensive players have just stepped up in general as well, which is, because we know they've always had this quality, because they've proved it in the past, so they're just proving it again this season, but to a higher extent.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Trent a little bit later on. But I mean, I want to touch on that midfield, because I think it is one of the most remarkable things that Arne Slot has done, in the fact that he's made these guys like genuinely really, really damn good midfielders. Someone like Ryan Gravenberch, who I looked at a couple of years ago as a potential signing for Real Madrid, before we signed Tchouaméni and before we signed Bellingham. So it was in that year roughly, I think it was. And me and my co-host Sean were talking about Gravenberch, and we were looking at this guy like he was a future Paul Pogba at Ajax, and we both decided not to go for him in the end, because I remember at that time it was like he was going to be quite expensive, so we just decided, this is probably not the move to make. But he had a couple years at Bayern, and then he wasn't great, and he came to Liverpool last year and he didn't get much playing time, and you just felt like, is this guy gonna ever amount to what he was meant to be, like, in the future? Yeah. But so far this season, he's been an absolute, defensive juggernaut. Like, I did not expect this from him. I expected, like I said, someone like Paul Pogba, but this guy has been so good defensively, and you literally cannot get past him. He knows where to be. He knows what to do. He just strikes me how intelligent he is defensively, which, I did not expect from him. And then the other guys in the midfield as well. Guys
exactly.
like Sorbas. Go on.
Oh, sorry.
You can go.
I was going to say exactly, like, he's spotting threats before they've even happened, and he's just so intelligent defensively. Like, I didn't expect it from him. I'll be honest. Like last season when I saw him, I just thought, right, we may have been robbed by Bayern Munich here, 40 million. But this season is like a completely different player. Like you said, maybe it's due to game time, but I think it's a confidence thing because there's no way. Because last season he looked bang average. I won't say he looked awful, but he looked so average. And that was under like one of the best managers, like at least in the past decade. But under Slot, it's like a completely different player. Like on the eye, statistically, like his defensive stats, I think that who scored part of the stat way is like only Gravenberch has made this amount of won this amount of duels, won this amount of tackles in the Europe's top 5 leagues this season, and you just wouldn't have expected it because defensively last season he was awful. Like he would always lose his duels, he would always lose his tackles, whereas now he's always winning his duels, he's always winning his tackles. And the biggest compliment I think you could give him is it doesn't feel like we're actually missing a player there. Whereas we were linked with obviously Zubimendi in the transfer window, and I still think we need him. Just because you can't rely on a starting 11 throughout an entire season. Just you can't rely on Gravenberch to stay fit for 38 matches or 50, however many we're playing all comps. But I just think he, like I said, the biggest compliment. I just don't think we've actually missed out. I've not watched the match this season for. You know what, Zubimendi would have improved us there, or Gravenberch, he's not really at it because every single match he's performed well. And I think the consistency is the biggest thing as well. It's one thing playing well for a couple of matches because he did that last year, but you've got to stay consistently 7, 8 out of 10 plus to win a Premier League, and he's been doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Zubimendi. I think he would be an absolutely amazing addition for Liverpool. I don't know what about him it is because I've seen his stats. You know, his like detailed stats. They're not that great, but it's just when you watch this guy, he's always like one of the best players on the pitch, and it does confuse me a little bit with Zubimendi. It's just he always looks fantastic. Whenever Real Madrid play Sociedad, he's one of the guys who I always look at and I'm like, he's really damn good. Like I just don't understand what is with him. But you know, all the other guys in the Liverpool midfield as well. You know, Szoboszlai and McAllister are the two guys I'm gonna talk about. Szoboszlai's surprisingly, it's another guy who we talked about a couple of years ago as well. And we both really liked him. Me and Sean both really liked Szoboszlai at the time. It's just we just didn't see a way to bring him to Real Madrid at that time. And he's proved this season and last season. He was great last season as well. Both of these guys were great last season. They're both so hard-working. They just constantly run. They're both very intelligent. They both can score goals. They both can provide assists. They just do it all, midfielders. All three of them, to be honest. All three of them just do it all. Someone like Curtis Jones, who I never looked at, you know, as that remarkable of a player. I thought he was like an average player, to be honest. Somebody who, you know, he's in the Liverpool squad just because he's a Liverpool boy ultimately. Yeah. But so far this season he's just been a quality, you know, contributor to the Liverpool team. You know, he's in that Arsenal game. I remember he was really damn good. You know, constantly being a problem for Arsenal, and it's just these type of players who, you know, Arne Slot's just elevated to the next level. I just think if Arne Slot gets his hands on Zubimendi, I just wonder how good that could be. And yeah, I think that midfield is definitely one of the best places in this Liverpool team right now. And if he was to get his hands on, you know, other guys, you know, not even just Zubimendi, but other midfielders you can say right now are currently world class, and if, you know, Arne Slot can elevate them to one more level, this Liverpool team may be, you know, a force to be reckoned with, you know, for the next coming years. So it's definitely a very, very, very good midfield in my opinion.
Absolutely. Like you touched on with Szoboszlai, I think the biggest praise you can give him is his hard work, man. Like, whenever you watch him, you know what you're going to kind of get with him, but at the same time, there's that huge, is he really that player? Because we did spend 70-odd million on him. Is he going to provide the goals and assists we expected from an attacking midfield, or what he was producing at Leipzig? We saw parts of that last season, you know, that long shot, his technique with shooting is unreal, especially with long shots. But just can he find consistency, and can he actually do it? Because he has missed a few sitters this season, and then his decision making at times, like he'll be in positions to shoot, then he'll pass the ball. He'll be in positions to pass, but he'll decide to shoot, and it's just like, come on, like this is your second season, kind of need to get things going again. But you know what? If Slot has faith in him, then there's no reason why any other Liverpool fan shouldn't have faith in him, because This is literally our 11th league match. We've only played 11 league matches, so there's still more to come. But McAllister, again, like I said, I don't think him playing a holding role brings the best out of him. I think putting him the advanced midfielder instead of maybe Szoboszlai will see him perform a lot better, because that's what he was doing last season. I think he was in with a shout actually. I think after New Year's, with being best player in the Premier League, not just for Liverpool, because he was getting goals, he was getting assists, he was unbelievable, he was controlling matches. But with McAllister, he's maybe been a bit behind Gravenberch, and obviously Gravenberch has been unreal. But I think McAllister, there's room for him to step up, and maybe Slot will identify that as well. But with Jones, like you said, I don't think it's unfair to say he was an average player and that he's only in there because he's Scouse, because a lot of Liverpool fans held that same opinion, because he's one of them. Again, he'd be inconsistent, but I always backed Jones. I thought maybe a long move would have been the best for him, but Jones, I believe Jones himself said in an interview that he never wanted a long move because he wanted to prove himself that he can actually kind of fit in with the current Liverpool midfielders, and we just have world-class ones. Thiago, obviously Wijnaldum to an extent, Navigator when he was fit, Fabinho as well. So those kind of really good players. And Jones now this season, I think, like you said, it's like he sort of transformed him into a new player. It's like he's a lot more confident. You brought up the Arsenal match, but even against Chelsea, he was unreal. I think he got man of the match, or maybe Mo Salah did. But Jones, it's like he kind of ran the show. And pocketed Cole Palmer. Defensively, Chelsea couldn't attack us. And going from an offensive point of view, he scored a goal and scored the winning goal, in fact, as well. So, yeah, he's been unreal. But all the midfielders we've had, even Endo, I think he needs his plaudits as well, because last season, before we even signed him, not everyone was already shitting on him. Who's this random guy we signed, 30-year-old from Stuttgart relegation contending side, And he whenever we brought him on this season, we look so solid. We don't look like conceding at all as soon as he comes onto the pitch. So, you know what? I'm praising all of them, but they've all done a good job for us this season. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's the fact that all of these midfielders are not remarkable players. They're not like Jude Bellingham, right? They're not all like big names.
Yeah.
They're not that, but they're playing like Jude Bellingham. They're playing at a really, really damn high level. They're all playing fantastic, and that's what I just find so remarkable about this Liverpool team right now. The fact that all of those players are elevated, and we're gonna see if it's just form. I don't think it is, because it's the whole team. But I just think it's fantastic so far from Liverpool. But let's move on and let's talk about one of the big talking points coming into this game is one of the players who Real Madrid so far this season have had to rely on so much is Vinicius Junior, and I just think if we did not have Vinny so far this season, we would be down in the dumps right now. We would be horrible. The goals he's brought, so far this season, the huge goals he's brought, the assists he's brought, I cannot blame him at all for what for Kylian Mbappe's form whatsoever, because I feel like Vinny's done everything that he can to try and help Kylian Mbappe right now, and his service. I think the one thing I can take from Vinny this season is the fact that his creativity has just exploded. He is constantly creating chances. Chances, for his teammates, for Kylian Mbappe. I think it was I can't remember which game it was, but himself, he just created Kylian so many chances and Kylian missed them all, and it was just so frustrating to watch. But yeah, he's been fantastic, and obviously the main deciding factor in these last few games against Liverpool has been Vinicius versus Trent ultimately, and. Like you said, I don't think Trent's bad at defending. One-on-one, I think Trent can definitely hold his own. Maybe not against Vinny, but against normal wingers, I don't think Trent's particularly a liability. It's just off the ball, because he's a mainly an attacking fullback, right? He likes to get up the pitch, and obviously that leaves a gap. That leaves a gap where he's not there. So that's obviously a negative of having Trent, but I don't think he's a particular liability. But in terms of this matchup for Vinny versus Trent, we saw against Barca, Vinny and Mbappe both played quite badly. I'm not going to talk about Mbappe in that match, but they both played quite badly. Barca did a very good job to quieten them down. What do you think Liverpool can do to try and stop Vinny in current form, which is very, very damn good?
Yeah, well, like you said, it is the talking point. You know, Vinicius probably second in the Ballon d'Or. Didn't quite win it, unlucky mate. But against Trent, who's arguably, like everyone says, defensively sort of insecure at the moment. But I think in the best chance we had was 21-22 when we played you in the final. I know it's going to sound daft, I know he scored the winning goal, but I thought we actually did quite a good job of defending against him.
Yeah,
Kanate, he needs to back up Trent in that position, and if he does, I think we'll do a solid job. The issue that matters, we couldn't finish any chances, or we did. I don't actually think, I don't want to talk about that match too much, but I don't think we even created that many clear-cut chances enough to finish off. But Courtois was obviously unbelievable, and you guys scored the goal. Like, there's no excuses, but generally speaking, I think there's a huge sort of, I'd say, misconception about Trent's defending, and you touched on it perfectly. One-on-one, yes, he can be like suspect at times, right? But the way people make out, it's like, oh, he can't fully defend, he can't do this, he can't do that. It's ridiculous, because his one-on-one defending, I'd say, is more down to like, maybe it's a mental thing, but it's like he's kind of just seemed like he's being a bit lazy. Like he'll maybe throw his leg in for a challenge, and then Vinicius will skip past him. But then there's some matches, right? So, for example, and this actually happens more often than not. So, against Milan in the Champions League, first Champions League match week this season, we were told all week how Vinicius versus Trent's a debate. We were told how Leao and Trent's going to be a big thing. Leao couldn't touch him all match. I think he got past him maybe once, and that was towards the back end of the second half, and he got nowhere because Trent had him locked up. And the funny thing is, you don't hear anything about it. All we heard after the match was, oh, but you guys, you don't actually know what? You clearly don't watch Milan properly, because Leao's actually not that good. It's a load of rubbish, because we always hear, oh, this winger's playing against Trent, he's going to kill him. We heard Neto was going to kill Trent for Chelsea. When we played them, he was non-existent. Martinelli, I know he had a lot off the ball, but he did absolutely nothing on Trent's side. So there's always this myth that as soon as a player comes up against Trent, they're always going to be the better of him because he supposedly can't defend. But you look at it's more of a talking point, I think, during internationals. So Kyle Walker obviously starts for England. You've not heard once since that Euros final, right? Kyle Walker was at fault for, I think, 2 of the goals he got caught out on. You've not heard it once. If Trent were to get caught, you still here to this day. In fact, when Trent was marking Vinicius at the back post against you guys in the final, oh, Trent lost his man. That's why Real Madrid won. But again, I just think it's a huge misconception that Trent can't defend. Like I said, his main weakness, I think, is just pure laziness. But again, I think that's actually changed this season. With Slot, I think you see Trent much more defensively secure. He's maybe not creating as many chances as he was last season, but I also don't think we need to rely on that, because Salah is so good at what he does. You got midfielders like Gravenberch who are progressing the ball forward better than we were doing last season. McAllister as well is doing that. Sabazla is winning the ball up in high positions. And our front three are winning the ball up in high positions, so we don't need to rely on Trent as much as being our sole creative output as opposed to the rest of the players. So again, I'm not going to ignore how good Vinicius Junior is, because every single damn time this guy's come up against us, I'm pretty sure he's either scored or he's assisted. So I'm not looking forward to the battle, but what I will say is I hope Kanate turns up, because if he does turn up, then maybe he can have a decent job of pocketing him. But I don't have much faith in Trent alone to be able to pocket Vinicius now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trent's held to his worst mistakes a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that final, it wasn't down to Trent, although it was a bad lapse of judgment, a really costly one, obviously. That back post, just letting Vinny past him. But that final was down to Courtois just being absolutely ridiculous. That was the best goalkeeping performance I think I've seen in my life. Genuinely, I don't think Courtois could not have done any better in that final, to be honest. And that is just a freak incident, to be honest. Courtois just plays like that. But yeah, I mean, Vinny right now, obviously, when I watch Real Madrid in La Liga, one of the primary tactics from the La Liga defenders to stop Vinny, and people talk about how Vinny's stats in La Liga aren't too good, aren't like Ballon d'Or worthy. You've talked about before, but the reason for that is because when La Liga teams come up against them, they stick 2, 3, 4 men on him every single week, and they can, because ultimately there's no one else in the team who breaks into the box. When you watch Real Madrid, this is something I've I've watched Real Madrid my whole life, and since Cristiano's left, this is the one thing it constantly irritates me, is the fact that there's always only one man in the box. No matter what situation it is, there's only one man in the box, and I don't care who it is. You know, when Benzema was here, it was Benzema. When other guys were here, it was them. But right now, there's not a single person in the box, and it just bugs the hell out of me, the fact that there's no one in the box ever. You can triple Vinny. You can triple Vinny, and he won't get any help. That's the worst thing I see on a weekly basis. The fact that, you know, Real Madrid don't help the winger really. You know, we know our left back Falo Mendy. He does not get forward, and he's not great at attacking. He does not provide that much support. When Fran Garcia plays, he's much better at it. He helps Vinny so much. And this is why I want Fran Garcia to start ahead of Falo Mendy, despite Falo Mendy being a much better defender. And you look at guys like Kylian Mbappe, who hasn't been able to, you know, take that pressure off of Vinny so far this season. Despite that, you know, Vinny's been fantastic, but you know, whenever Rodrigo plays, it's so good, because Rodrigo, you know, takes so much of that pressure off Vinny with his, you know, he brings the width on the right hand side, and he just stretches the opposition team, and it just helps Vinny so much. Well, Rodrigo's out, and he's not gonna play that Liverpool match. I'm worried about that, because, you know, I don't know who they're going to play. For me, I think it'll probably be they'll probably bring Modric as well as Brahim Diaz probably into the match. I think would be my prediction. So yeah, I'm a bit worried about the fact that Rodrigo won't be there. But you know, you mentioned how Konate is going to have to help Trent with the Vinicius defending. But you know, in terms of who else will be there to support Trent on the right hand side?
Gravenberch plays the right hand side role, so it'll be him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's obviously a very good option for Liverpool to have. But I mean, I spoke about Real Madrid's injuries as well. The fact is that Real Madrid have no current right backs right now, which is a horrible situation. We're missing Carvajal obviously for the rest of the year. Lucas Vazquez is now out for a month, so you know he wasn't doing so great either. But you know he's at least a body, right? And now we have to put Fede Valverde at right back, which, you know, I love Fede, and I think he's got all the attributes to be a right back. But when you play Fede at right back, you don't have him in midfield, which is the main problem, and that's going to be a huge issue for us to deal with. And you know, speaking of Liverpool, speaking of Fede Valverde and his matchup, he's going to come up against Luis Diaz. And Luis Diaz so far this season has been really damn good. He's been clinical, and I think it started from Copa America. He was just on fire for Colombia in the Copa America, and he was really damn good. He was helping Colombia. He got Colombia to the final, and Colombia should have won that final. They fell to Argentina. He's got 8 goals so far this season. He's been clinical, and Arne Slot, you know, somebody like Cody Gakpo as well. Both of those guys who, you know, they both look good at points for under Klopp, but they never look like, you know, truly threatening. They never looked like that type of attacker which, you know, you would be, you know, be scared of going into matches. But right now, I'm scared of Luis Diaz currently. I'm scared of Cody Gakpo. Even if Cody Gakpo is not scoring so many goals, he's just a constant. He's a pest. He constantly runs at you. He's causing problems all the time, and it's just it's constant irritation for the defense to deal with. So, I mean, yeah, talk about Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo for a bit.
Yeah, so I'd say like Diaz is playing sort of. You know what? I actually think he's playing sort of very similar to how he was last season. The difference is he's finishing his chances. Like you said, he's a lot more clinical. Whereas last season, people maybe didn't view him as like a huge threat. Whereas he's finishing his chances. Like we saw against Leverkusen. I know they're very basic chances, but he's finishing them off very well. Actually, in fact, the first one he chipped the keeper, so it was a great finish. Whereas last season, like I think I already brought up when we played Man City, he's through 1-on-1, big match, send us top of the Premier League, and he's completely missed the target like by a mile. And he was in the penalty area, so I don't understand that. It may, like I said again, maybe his confidence thing, like from last season to now, but he's been a real. I think the biggest thing with Diaz was always does he have that end product? You know, he performs well in matches, defensively he helps out. But is he getting goals? Is he getting assists? And it was no for a large part. Last season, the season before that is hard to argue. He was obviously injured for like seven months. But when we first signed him, he was contributing big goals as well. especially in the Champions League. But yeah, he's been on fire this season. This is his best season by far. And his decision making or end product has obviously gotten a lot better under Arne Slot. Whereas Gakpo, like I said, he's not really had goals, but I think that's down to game time because I think a lot of us maybe expected him to have more game time on the back end of the Euros. He was, for me, he was a player of the tournament. I've got no problems if anyone wants to say Nico Williams or Lamine Yamal, but I don't see Gakpo. I don't see sort of different Gakpo to what we have been seeing because I'll always rate Gakpo. I think there's just a tendency to pick on forwards whenever we're not winning matches. Oh, Gakpo didn't score today. He performed badly. But he never used to start regularly for us, so that's always been a thing for him. I think when he has actually consistently played on the left wing in his actual position, because I think a lot of people forget he was playing midfield in times for us last season, which he's clearly not a central midfielder. It's like playing Mbappe in central midfield and saying, "Go on, why aren't you scoring goals? Why aren't you performing well?" It's not his position. So I think when he doesn't actually play on the left wing, it's his natural position. You could clearly see it's his natural position. He's one of them where it's like, you know, when you see tall players and you just don't think, oh, maybe they're a bit stiff. But this guy's he's agile, he's explosive, he's got everything to his game. So even his stats, I'll just touch on a couple of his stats. So he started just 3 matches in the Premier League for us, which out of 11 matches is a bit of a joke on the back end of his Euro campaign, obviously. But that's just, I think it complements how high quality our forwards are. And in those 3 starts, he's got 2 goal contributions. He got an assist to Jota, which was brilliant when he scored the winning goal against Palace, and then he scored against Brighton, which was an equaliser. So he scored huge goals. Similarly, in the Champions League, he started 3 matches and got 2 contributions as well. One against Leverkusen, who were undefeated in Europe, obviously, except for losing that final. And then he assisted against Milan. Brilliant assist. He's taken the ball from the halfway line, progressed the ball. He's hit it into Szoboszlai, put it on a plate for Szoboszlai, I should say, and he's obviously tapped it in. So both are performing really well. I have no problems with either of them starting. Obviously, you can have your own preference, but you know, when I see a team sheet, I don't get annoyed if I see Gakpo there. I'd rather have Diaz there. I'm not annoyed if I see Diaz there. So yeah, both really good.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, right now Real Madrid's defense is falling apart in terms of injuries. We've obviously lost Militao as well now for the rest of the season. And you know, there's one positive against Osasuna is the fact that we played fantastic. It was our best performance of the season, which is not a high bar, but it was a very, very good performance. And the one player that came out of it, we got a centre back out of it. We got young Raul Asensio, who's 21 years old. Ancelotti just does not trust the B team players. He just does not trust them whatsoever. You know, in the last few years, we've had a couple of players come through, but they get sold immediately. And Ancelotti just does not have a tendency to trust them. But Asensio, it really, you know, it was really confusing for me because he's never been a talented guy in the B team. He's always been looked at as a meh player, and you know, it's not really going to amount to anything. It was more just out of necessity, just to fill the squad numbers, that he was even part of the squad, because our main B team defenders were injured as well. So it was him or nothing at the end of the day. And he played. He gave an assist to Jude Bellingham, a really fantastic assist to Jude Bellingham. And now it suddenly looks like he's going to be our centre back until Tchouaméni comes back. So it's really not looking good for us. I'm nervous about having him up against this Liverpool attack right now, because you know, Osasuna, as much as Osasuna have been good so far this season, playing against Ante Budimir and playing up against Mo Salah is a completely different. It's a completely different game, to be honest. Like Budimir's a fantastic player. He's very, very annoying to play against. He's very tall and he's very strong, but Salah's just a beast. He gets past anyone. You can't defend that guy. So I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. Hopefully, you know, Rudiger can hold his hand through, you know, such a big game. But you know, it's definitely a huge one. And I mean, we might as well talk about it. We've held off for so long, but let's talk about Mo Salah, because it looks like this guy's got better. And he's 32 now, I think he is. And it looks like he's got better with age. He just looks like this could be one of his best seasons yet. So far this season, 9 goals, 10 assists in all competitions, I believe. he just looks fantastic. And what is so astounding to me is the fact that his all-round play just looks so much better as well. He just gets his teammates, and his teammates look elevated as a result of him. He's always scoring goals. He's always looking to be a threat, but that opens up so much space for his teammates. And obviously, Luis Diaz has benefited off of that immensely. So Mo Salah, I mean, what's been the difference this season as opposed to the Klopp seasons?
Everything you said spot on, and you know what, Salah he's been my favourite player for a while now, and I think he's always been misunderstood as this player. He only gets goal contributions. He doesn't actually do anything else, which just goes to show it's a lot. I think he'll never get the credit he sort of deserves. But like you said, it's kind of like he's stepping up with, as he gets older, which you won't really associate with players that coming into their 30s. But Salah just unbelievable. I think I see him every time I describe him. I think I see him similar to, like, maybe not obviously the level of quality as Ronaldo, where it's like that he's always in the gym, always. Like, you hear from the players, Salah's always the first one there. He's always the last one to leave it. Like, he always takes care of his body.
I think Benzema's a good comparison in terms of that.
Oh, exactly. Like, no disrespect to the Saudi league, but Benzema's in there now. But Salah's like he's still at that elite level, and for me, he's the best player in the world at the moment in time. But like I said, statistically, yes, he's performing at another level. This season, he's got the most contributions in the Premier League, and Chelsea have just played at the time we're recording, and Palmer didn't get another goal contribution, so that luckily still stands. Second top scorer in the league behind Haaland, so that's saying something. Not 8 goals, I think he's got this season in the Prem. He's got the second most assists in the Premier League, which he's behind Saka, who takes set pieces for Arsenal, takes corners, which obviously infamous for. He's got the most assists in the Champions League this season, and he's the first player this season to achieve 10 goals and 10 assists in all comps. So I think him and Omar Marmoush, his Egyptian teammate, are the only 2 players to have done it. I might be wrong in saying that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He literally does the hardest thing you can possibly ask for in football, which is to score goals or provide assists, and he still gets hate on the back end of it. So I think the thing with Salah is, as soon as he doesn't score in maybe 3 matches, you will not stop hearing about it. Like, even 2 matches, I think you go as far to say Salah, he's on a bit of a goal drought here, not scored in 2 matches. And then the whole, I think it's one thing, obviously he plays in England, and I don't want to touch on this and make it a deeper thing, but I think with him being Muslim and sort of North African, those kind of players aren't maybe pushed out pushed forward for these sort of media things, because the British media tend to bring them down. Like I said, I'm not turning it into a deep thing, but like on the back end of last season, we were told he had a really poor year. Salah, and that's not me saying Vinicius was bad. Obviously, he was exceptional, but Salah had very similar stats to Vinicius Junior, and we were told he should be shipping off to Saudi Arabia. So the stats and numbers he puts up every season is incredible. But like you said, this year again, this is creating chances. He's setting up teammates perfectly, and it's not just ordinary assists. It's not just that he's passing the ball 2 yards. He's looking for crosses, and he's getting them pinpoint. The one match we played in the Champions League, I think it's against Boulogne, he set up McAllister, who was about 5 yards out, and the keeper couldn't get anywhere near it. And obviously McAllister ain't going to miss from there. And then in the same match, he scored an absolute volley, top corner, against Brighton. Scored a volley against them, against Arsenal in the big match. He got the equaliser. And against Man United, 2 assists and 1 goal. And people say Man United aren't good, but we struggled against them at Old Trafford. Going to Old Trafford is not an easy thing. Like, not everyone goes there to just win, like, casually. Like, it's a tough thing. Maybe it's more of a mental thing, but he absolutely dominated that performance. He's been dominating matches all season, so he's obviously been unbelievable. And I think he said in a recent podcast, actually, with LFCTV, which was quite interesting. So he said something, he asked Arsene Wenger when he came for a Liverpool training session one time. He asked him what's the difference between a good player and reaching the world-class level. And Arsene Wenger told him it's because you don't need to be performing well, but as long as you can come up with a moment, then that's the difference. And that's exactly what Salah has been doing, not just this season, not just last season, but for the past 8 years, I'd say. At least for Liverpool, because even under Roma, I think he was putting up unbelievable stats as well. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%, and that's That's exactly how I'd describe it as well. I mean, this is what me and Sean have been talking about for years with Vinny and with Benzema especially. I think we've constantly talked about how Real Madrid are not a team to play amazing over 90 minutes, but they will come up in moments and they will absolutely just destroy you in a matter of moments. This is why I thought Vinny deserved the Ballon d'Or last year, because you know, in terms of carrying his team over the line, it was Vinny. It was Vinny over the line. You know, in La Liga and in the Champions League, in the proper, in the actual heavy, you know, in the silverware stages. You know, it was Vinny carrying us over the end, and I think that's why I thought Vinny deserved it over Rodri. But obviously, the Ballon d'Or journalist didn't share my sentiment. But yeah, I think Salah's just been absolutely remarkable. Like you said, I think he's definitely been overlooked for Ballon d'Ors and stuff like that. But obviously, a lot of it is just publicity. It's always been more of a popularity contest, and I think it's definitely difficult to win it from the Premier League because of the fact that, like you said, the British media loves to just down on players whenever they're not having, you know, the greatest of stretches. Not even an okay stretch of games. You know, the British media will just get on them straight away. So it's definitely something that, you know, has hurt Salah over the years, and you know he's definitely deserves to come in the top 10, come into the top 5 a little bit more often. But obviously, that's not happened. But yeah, I mean, I think he's just going to cause us problems, and that's what I'm nervous about. You know, Ferland Mendy's been poor so far this season. And I mean, the Barcelona game, I don't want to revisit it constantly, but Lamine Yamal, you know, I was confident with Ferland Mendy against Lamine Yamal, and whenever Ferland Mendy's played against a world-class winger previously, he normally just locks him down, and, you know, there's not much fuss about it. But in this El Clasico, I don't know, so far this season, there just seems to be something different about Ferland Mendy. The fact he just looks horrific. He just doesn't, you know, if Ferland Mendy's not defending well, he's not doing anything, and that's the worst thing. You know, that's the worst thing to have at left back. You know, it's something that all Real Madrid fans will tell you, is the fact that Ferland Mendy is just a big zero in the pitch. He just does nothing for us so far this season, and so that's the main thing I'm concerned about. Is if he does not contain Salah, then that's going to be our major problem. So that's definitely something I'm definitely worried about. But going into this game, we've talked about Liverpool's positives, all of the many positives that Liverpool have going into this game. You know, there's not many weaknesses, but you know, if you can take something away from, you know, this near perfect start from Liverpool, what would you say are the weaknesses for Liverpool?
I mean, there certainly are weaknesses to pick out. Like, I know painting this picture, we're perfect, you know, Gakpo's this, Jota's this, Salah's this, but there's obviously weaknesses. I think one sort of big one would be, you know, we're starting games off slowly. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's a big weakness, but it started creeping again like it has in the past, and we'll have like a shocking first half, or maybe shocking first 15-20 minutes, and then we'll kind of rely on ourselves, rely on our quality to sort of bring that back, like we did against Brighton at Anfield, even in the League Cup as well. I think we were drawing 1-1 against Brighton. I know it's a different sort of Liverpool side, maybe a B team, but still the same sort of concept. Arsenal away, with Arsenal missing Odegaard, Arsenal missing William Saliba. I know there's the injury crisis, but missing 2 key players, and we didn't really take advantage of that. Partey at right back, maybe Diaz didn't step up. So there's been moments where we've not really started games up well, and then we kind of flipped that on its head and played really well in the second half. Even against AC Milan, we conceded in like 2-3 minutes. I think Christian Pulisic scored, but then as soon as they scored that goal, it's like we're a completely different side. So it's like we kind of need that. We need to start switching on a lot earlier in matches, as opposed to just letting opposition casually play against us. So that's one thing I'd say. I know we've touched on the midfield being unbelievable, but I still think there's sort of an imbalance in the midfield. Because there's times where it can look sort of non-existent, which you don't obviously really want to see. Otherwise it becomes like really apparent, and then teams are going to batter you on transitions, which I'm sure Vinicius and Mbappe could be doing on Wednesday. And at the end, like, teams sort of dominate the ball against us. So Aston Villa is one of the biggest examples. That was our last league match, I believe, at Anfield. So we beat them 1-0. First half, we looked all fine. Second half, though, it was a bit shaky. I wouldn't say we're conceding too many chances, but we certainly didn't have as much possession. We weren't dominant on the ball. Whereas that's where I think Gravenberch, obviously he's been unbelievable. But I think having a natural holding player there as opposed to putting Gravenberch and McAllister there would change things. Maybe they'll be defensively more solid, better on the ball, whereas Gravenberch is more prone to taking risks, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Obviously, he's been fortunate this season. Not saying he will be unfortunate, but that's one thing to maybe look at as well. So midfield imbalance. I think defensively we can be caught on transitions. At the same time, it just depends that's one thing. I think it just depends how players turn up on the actual match, because I was confident going into the Arsenal match. You know, they're missing a couple of key players who could really have a go at them. Like I said, Diaz against Partey's, for me, I don't think he's a great player at all, but Luis Diaz, one of the best left wingers in the world this season, and he just didn't turn up. He was pocketed, so again, it just depends on how they perform. And like you've touched on Real Madrid injuries, I'm obviously not denying or comparing situations, but we have got a couple of injuries of our own, which are weaknesses, I guess you could say, like Alisson being out for the past however many matches. Kelleher, it's a good compliment, I guess, to Kelleher. You don't really feel like you're missing Alisson, but at the same time, I think Alisson, he pulls off saves you wouldn't expect him to pull off, and it's maybe
it's something similar with Lunin and Courtois, I think, with Kelleher
exactly. Like I saw the debate actually, weren't there, last season, where people saying Lunin should have started the Champions League final ahead of Courtois, but I think with keepers it's different. It's not a form thing, because at the end of the day, you've got the quality, and that's that. And Alisson's obviously, for me, he's the best keeper in the world. I'm sure you'll say Courtois is the best keeper. Yeah. We'll have that debate for ages. But again, like Jota was our starting striker this season. He picked up the injury against Chelsea, and he was performing well for us this season. Maybe not goal contributions wise, but at the end of the day, we're still propping up with the odd goal. And general, I'd say his all-round play was actually getting better than it has been. But yeah, obviously we're missing Chiesa, but he's hardly played for us, and Elliott's been missing as well, who looked like he was finding his feet finally, I think, towards the end of last season, but obviously he's not even played a single minute this year. So injuries, maybe there's nowhere near as many as Madrid, or especially to as many key areas, but injuries are one thing. Midfield imbalance, like I think on the ball we're maybe not as dominant, but on the flip side, again, it's maybe a bit of a strength of on slots, like out of possession, we don't actually look like we're conceding a goal. Or at least giving up too many chances. Maybe like XG would prove me wrong, but I think we concede lots of, maybe concede quite a few shots, but we actually don't concede like, oh, there's a clear-cut chance, I should have scored from that. Chelsea at Anfield is probably the biggest example of that, when we beat them 2-1. They had 1-1 and 1 throughout the whole match, but they didn't actually create much. So again, but it can be beaten. Like I said, on transitions at times, the midfield can look non-existent. And we do start games off slowly, so I'll say they're the biggest weaknesses from us this season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the slow starts. That's not going to be a problem against us, to be honest, because we've been pathetic. As long as we don't concede a goal, we've been really, really bad. We need to concede first to actually, get into gear and start playing the game. That it just seems like whenever it's a 0-0 game, there's just no urgency. There's no like, we'll get it done later on anyway. It's fine. We'll just take our time with this, and then they concede, and then it's a problem, and then oh shit, we need to actually do something about this now. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for Liverpool.
It's like when you play Dortmund in the Champions League.
Exactly.
Actually, I think you were like 2-0 down.
Exactly. I mean, we were 2-0 down against Dortmund, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what happened there then?" And then they just clicked into gear. You could tell as soon as Dortmund scored that second one. And you could just tell Real Madrid were coming back. I could just tell that it was coming back. They were all just they were just locked in at that moment, and they realized, okay, we need to actually start playing now. And I don't know what about it. I don't know why this has been a problem even under Zidane a couple of years ago. I remember in the press conferences he used to say, we need to do something about these slow starts. In La Liga, we need to do something about these slow starts, where we always used to slow start, even with a completely different, attack, completely different defense. We needed to do something about it, but they just never could fix it, and it just, I don't know what about it is, but it's just a constant problem. And then obviously you mentioned the injuries for Liverpool. I don't think we're in a position to take advantage of that right now. We're just trying to get by right now, to be honest, with our team until January, if we decide to make a signing in January, which is a whole other issue. But I mean, right now we're missing Carvajal, we're missing Militao for the rest of the season. Alaba's gone until Jan, at least.
Yeah.
At least. We're missing Shermany for the rest of this month at least. We're missing Lucas Vasquez and Rodrigo for another month, so that's another few key players out. And I believe that's it. Courtois as well. We're missing Courtois. I'm not sure whether he's going to be back for this match against Liverpool. I don't think he's going to be back for tomorrow against Leganés, which is when we're recording this. We're recording this on Saturday, by the way. So yeah, I mean, we're missing a hell of a lot of players. We've got good attack. We've still got a really good attack without Rodrigo, so I'm not too concerned about that. But it's always the defense. It's just we've got no numbers there. We've got no players to the point where we have to call up on Castilla's backup defender. So it's a bad situation defensively, and we're not in a position to take advantage. So yeah, I mean, I'm concerned. But you know, there's always something to be said about Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Absolutely.
And you know, even if Liverpool are playing so fantastic and Real Madrid are playing so bad, you've got to hold a little bit of hope. Even if we're 18th in the standings and we've looked really damn bad so far this season in the Champions League and in La Liga. You know, there's something to be said about that. So, I mean, one more thing I would like to ask you is about Trent's contract, because we might as well do that while we're here. What's the situation? Because contract runs out in 2025. Obviously, he looked at, I looked at him as one of those guys who was going to stay at Liverpool for the rest of his career. I mean, I don't know what's going on there to the point where he just doesn't want to renew anymore. Is it about the Ballon d'Or? I doubt that, to be honest. But in terms of it, what do you think is going to happen with Trent?
Well, I'll add a bit of context to it first. So the way it obviously gets sort of put into light now, it's all Liverpool let Salah, Van Dijk and Trent into their last years. But I think it's a bit blown out of proportion again. At the end of last season, we all knew Klopp was leaving, so these players were never going to sign a new contract, not knowing who we're going to bring in, what players we might be bringing in, what style of play we're going to be playing. So it's understandable that they've got into the final year, especially with Salah, because he only signed a two-year deal on the back end of the 2021 year, I think. No, 21-22 season, sorry, on the back end of that one. He signed a 3-year deal, sorry. So, he played 1 year, probably would have renewed last season, but obviously Klopp's leaving, so they had a big decision to make, and no one's going to commit their future if they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what position they're going to play. They don't even know if the manager will like them, if the manager will want them gone. So there's lots of uncertainty around it. So that's why we're in the final year. But obviously, it's sort of working on the aggregator account with LFCTransferRoom. You come across all these sort of news reports and sources, but I still think he'll renew his contract. I think Trent himself has said this season, he said his contracts have never been publicised. They never will be publicised, and neither will this one. So a lot of the talk, I think Real Madrid sources get a bit trigger happy sometimes. They're just trying to get clickbaity news articles, because I've been seeing one say, he's already rejected Liverpool's approaches, but you see kind of the most reliable Liverpool sources, they're always saying like nothing's even been done yet. Obviously Liverpool are trying to get him to sign, but nobody knows anything. So if they don't know anything, I don't understand how Real Madrid source will know, especially Sport or these Matt Moretto, those kind of ones. But yeah, again, like literally, there's no comment. I think obviously, if he does leave, that's not saying these people are right or whatever. But like, if he does leave, then he's obviously going to Real Madrid. But at the same time, I can't understand why someone who's grown up supporting Liverpool he's finally made it into their first team. Liverpool are probably the best we've ever been in his lifetime, especially in my lifetime. Why he would want to leave this position? Because at this moment in time, I'd say we're probably the best team in the world, but obviously that can change quickly. Yes, you can play for Real Madrid. Yes, you can probably have the better chance of winning Champions League, but at the same time, he's currently playing for the team he's supported for his entire life. So I just don't see the incentive of joining Real Madrid at the moment. Yes, you can win trophies there, but at the same time, we're very well positioned to win trophies ourselves, especially with a new manager, new style of play. I think Klopp set us up perfectly for this new manager to come in and win trophies. And we're 9 points clear of Arsenal, maybe I think 4 points clear of City already. City don't look good, especially with Rodri, who's torn his ACL. So I think there's the best chance for us to win silverware. Trent, there's absolutely no reason for him to leave Liverpool, in my opinion. So that's the way I see it. Obviously, people see it differently, but yeah, that's the only thing I could provide there. But again, that's just my opinion. I obviously know nothing.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the sources, having done this for a while, I know which sources to trust from Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Sport, I think, is a Catalan newspaper outlet, so that's one thing I would not trust whatsoever. Places like Marca, Relevo, places like those, I just would not trust whatsoever. A lot of Real Madrid sources are not very good. I just don't like a lot of those sources. You know, they're not great. There are some guys who I trust, but you know, there's a woman who's inside the Real Madrid dressing room, Arantxa, who's a very very good reporter. But apart from that, I don't really trust anyone. You know, if it comes from Fabrizio, I'll trust it. But apart from that, really, I don't trust anyone. And I agree with you. I just don't understand why Trent would want to come to Real Madrid. Obviously, the Real Madrid train only comes once, unless your name is Kylian Mbappe. It only comes once, and you know, if it's not going to happen now, it's never going to happen for him. I don't think it's going to come back again because if we don't sign him now, I think we'll just sign someone else, and that'll be the end of that. And I think personally, I've been quite vocal in saying I don't think Trent's the right fit for this team because we're already struggling defensively. We already have got a bit of an imbalance in this team, and we're going to bring in another excellent attacker, but you know, we need defenders because we can't just run Rudiger and Militao into the ground, you know, constantly playing them against however many attackers. So for me, it just doesn't make sense other than the fact you want to have the best player in the world in that position, which obviously I would love to have Trent because he's the best player, but that's not how football works, unfortunately. And Florentino Perez should have learned his lesson with the Galacticos 2 decades ago. You know, that's all I got to say on that. So, I mean, in terms of a prediction, let's get a prediction from you. This game, Anfield, it's a tough game. But you know, what are your thoughts on the predictions?
Predictions, lineup or scoreline?
Scoreline.
I was gonna say I predict us to beat you every single time, and we always lose. You know, actually, we drew one year, didn't we? In 2021, we drew at Anfield.
Yeah, that was the second leg, though.
yeah, we didn't get knocked out. You know, I'm always confident. I'm always optimistic. I reckon we'll win. I think it'll be, but it will be tight. I don't think it'll be tight in terms of actual performances. I think it'll be a tight result. I think it'll be 3-2, 2-1, or 3-1 to Liverpool. And I'm just giving you three different scorelines, but I just think it'll be. I think performance-wise, we're going to absolutely dominate. But at the same time, I know, like you said, Mbappe's maybe not performing as well, or Vinicius had to carry. But at the same time, these players, when they're not performing well, they can still pop up with something like unbelievable. That's why, like, Mbappe, he's guaranteed to win a Ballon d'Or at some point in his career. He's unbelievable. So obviously, I'm not going to deny the quality Real Madrid have, and I expect them to score. But at the same time, I'm hoping. Part of me hopes we can absolutely batter you because that'll just be the best moment ever. Onslaught, new manager, Salah gets a hat trick, finally gets his revenge. Don't make it through to the qualifiers, and that'll be perfect. But that's a dream world. I can't see it happening. I reckon a very tight result, but I can see us winning.
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. You saw what Barca did. You know, Barca didn't even play that great in the first half, and they just completely ran right in the second half, and you know, it just came. I expected to beat Barcelona in that second half. I thought that was going to be the game. I thought Real Madrid were going to take Barcelona's head, and we were gonna carry on and march forward and take La Liga, whatever was going to happen. Yeah, and in the end we lost 4-0. So you know, anything's possible with Real Madrid so far this season. But that Osasuna game does give me a little bit of confidence for some reason. I don't know why. You know, it's the first time we actually played well this season. You know, every other game this season, I can't say confidently that we deserve to win, apart from that Osasuna game. So I'm not gonna say a win. I don't think it's gonna be a win because of how Liverpool are playing. But we do need a result badly because we're currently 18th in the standings, and we need to get top 8 to get automatic qualification.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 2-2. I want to say 2 goals from Vinny as well. So I think, that's my prediction. Hopefully we can do that. I think tomorrow's game against Leganes is going to tell us how well, whether that performance against Osasuna is actually stuck or whether it's just been lost in the international break. But yeah, I mean, well, where can the people find you, Anthony?
Well, on LFC Transfer Room, I've not really been much of a made many appearances recently, but LFC Transfer Room on YouTube streams or every single day, and obviously make YouTube videos for them. You've been a guest on one of our videos as well. In fact, Lenny Yoro to Liverpool, which didn't. I know it was for William Pacho, sorry, to Liverpool, but we didn't upload it because he went to PSG.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys want to find out about Liverpool, you know, I've definitely been interested in Liverpool a little bit. Go follow LFC Transfer Room. If you want to find out about Trent, you know, go follow them. And yeah, that is it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you, Anthony, once again for joining me today to preview this very, very exciting game. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.